Hello dear YouTuber friends, and I do hope you're all keeping well. Welcome to this new video. It's back to basics with Microsoft Flight Sim part 42. In this video we're going to go over a lot of the things that we've covered in other videos. In this case though, we're going to take everything we learned and put it to practice in the wonderful Vision Jet. Absolutely pocket rocket fantastic aircraft if you don't own this. Available for both Xbox and PC. What I'm going to show you here will be applicable for Xbox and PC as well, with Navigraph integration in case you own that. If you don't worry about it. I'll be talking about getting familiar with the aircraft, the functionality in this case of the G3000, showing you different autopilot procedures in this aircraft, like ILS landings, things we've covered in previous videos, and vertical navigation as well. It's pretty much, like I said, in a nutshell, taking everything we've learned in previous videos and integrating it into an advanced aircraft, such as the Vision Jets here. Okay, let's not dilly-dally. Let's get on with this video. Okay, so for this video and lesson, we're flying this Cirrus Vision Jet. So if you own that, this is the one to select. You could do it in other aircraft, but I'm covering procedures in the Vision Jets specifically in this video. Didn't mean to do that. So I've got the Vision Jets chosen there. Gonna go zoom over EGNT Newcastle. Gonna take off from runway 25, set as departure. And we're going to find Manchester Airport. Just scroll out a little bit. You should see Manchester Airport. There, EGCC. I'll type in EGCC here. Set as arrival. We're going to do a landing first at Leeds Bradford, EGNM. And I've got the add-on for that. And we're going to choose Durham Cathedral as a waypoint. So click on that and click add. Very simple. Newcastle to Manchester, with Bradford Airport as added in between as a waypoint, and Durham Cathedral. Let's go fly. Okay, so we find ourselves at runway 25, Newcastle Airport. Very wet and dreary day, isn't it? This is live weather in the sim. If I look outside my window where I live, I've set it to approximately the same time. It's about the same weather we're getting as well. Not the best start to March, I've got to say. First thing I do when I jump into an aircraft, and I had to do this with the Vision Jet, I familiarise myself with where all the instruments are, where the autopilot panel are, where the flaps lever is, which is here. I'll get onto that, where the throttle is, which is here. So I familiarise myself. And even up here, now because it's quite a dark and dreary day, you've got cabin lights up here, which I'm going to mouse up on, just to turn on. I've obviously got the panel lights on, because you can see the panel lights are lit, but there's a panel light, so I can put that on full, in fact, just to get the full effect. And that'll do, it gives us more light on the situation. Look at the screens, you've got, you know, your primary flight display, your MFD here, so your map display, two screens here. Familiar if you're used to something like the G1000. And then you've got 3 screens here, and these will control autopilot functionality on these screens and so much more. You can do so much in this Vision Jet. It's fantastic. Just going to go to previous pilot position and next instrument view, so I can just show you these in more detail. I'll be coming back to these in just a moment. I look at the autopilot panel similar to the Cessna 208, the Cessna Grand Caravan. You've got your heading bug here, so that's your heading bug. Autopilot selected altitude bug, knob rather. I'm going to set that now to 3,000 feet. If you're following along, do this as well. 3,000 feet, I want the autopilot to climb to that. You've got the familiar suspects: autopilot master, approach mode, heading mode, nav mode, flight director, flight level change mode, vertical navigation, I'll be showing you that in this video. Vertical speed and altitude hold. And you can change your vertical speed here, of course. All very familiar. If you look down here, you've got your flaps levers. There's 2 different stages of flaps. Well, 3 if you include flaps up. Flaps up, I'll just move that up with my Logitech multi-panel. Wherever you got a flap switch set, I mean, you can come down here and click it if you want to. Just mouse down or mouse up. For takeoff, it's 50%. If you're coming into land, put it to 100%. We'll be showing you that later if needed. And then, obviously, when you're up in the air, you'll take them up. So, not very complicated, the flaps. And down here, you've got more autopilot controls. Probably won't use these. You do have a trim wheel here as well. I'll be using my physical trim on my throttle. And fuel control, we'll just keep that into auto. So you familiarise yourself. This is the whole idea. Did you know? If you've just got this, you might not have known. You do get a phone, which I'll show you in a moment. And you get some neat features with that. Yeah, now just look at everything and say temperature control. That's turn it up a bit. It's a bit cold at the moment. That's fine. And you just familiarise yourself with it. Get to know where everything is in case you need to refer to it. Now the phone, it goes down here when you click it. Click it again, left click. Virtual Aircraft Management System. Gives you statistics and different luggage you can have. You can have a different status of your aircraft. Obviously we're ready for takeoff. Noise reduction, headphones and goodness knows what if you want that. There's no need really in the Vision Jet. Configs and all that good stuff. We won't mess with that. It's just in case you didn't know that was there. And I believe there's a TV at the back if you had passengers. You could pull down a TV for them. As you would do in a Vision Jet, wouldn't you? It's a luxury Vision Jet. Sorry, it's a luxury airliner. So all very nice. Okay, so I familiarised myself with where everything is, and you should do the same. I'm going to come down now. I can scroll between them doing it like that. If you got a keyboard, default controls are Control 1 to 5 for all these instruments down here, I think. So Control 3 would take me to this. I'm going to change this to MFD, which is this screen. I'm going to click full to get that map. Actually, I need to scroll up once using that bigger knob here so that this map is highlighted. Or scroll down, in fact. And then click on full, so we've got the map screen on full. So just in case you didn't see that, that's your normal screen. If this is not highlighted, use that knob. Actually scroll down it. And then click on this button here to make it full. Quite straightforward. What we're going to do, we're going to fly to Leeds Bradford. I'm just going to do an autopilot. Oh, so I'm going to keep that screen there. I'm going to keep this screen probably like that. So I'm just going to use this to change source for the FMS. It's in nav mode at the moment, FMS mode. You can switch it between localizer 1, localizer 2 and FMS. So I'll keep that there, that's quite handy. This screen I'm going to use for my radio panels. So I'm going to choose here Navcom, click the button next to it, then click this button, audio and radios. Let's scroll in on that so you can see actually control and, well, I'm in that mode already. But audios and radios, click on that. I can change the nav frequency here, so it's quite handy to have that if you're doing this kind of flight. Guess the only thing I want to do now, if you have Navigraph, a Navigraph subscription, if you got the Vision Jet, you might want to look at Navigraph because I'm going to be using it within this video. If you don't have Navigraph, you can do a Google search for all this, but I don't need to leave this screen. I can go to charts. It's going to open. Which chart is that going to open? Control and 2, Manchester Airport. That's fine. That's our destination. But I want to land at Leeds Bradford first. So I'll click on chart selection again. In the box here, you can see it's actually Newcastle now. What's going on there? Well, that's where we are. That's fine. But I'm going to click on this box here where it's got EGNT. Type in EG... Is it N? NM, isn't it? EGNM. If you make a mistake, just backspace. There you go. It should come up Leeds Bradford. Click enter. And I want, you can get airport information. I'm going to use Control and 2 to move to this screen. So I can see, you know, if I land, I'm going to land at runway 14. I need to taxi over here or taxi over there. You can see all that information there. Very handy Navigraph for that. But I'll go to the Approach tab. And I want to do an ILS at runway 14. Category A or B, I think, or C or D. It'll be this one. This will do. Now if I click on that, click on Control and 2 again, it will tell me the nav frequency, which is 110.9. So Control and 3, 110.9. Remember, we got this page on our nav. Click on nav 1 here, so it highlights. Then use these knobs to change your standby frequency. 10. Forgotten it already. 110.9. My mind is like a sieve sometimes, so 110.9. To make it active, if you hold right over the outer knob here, over the small knob, or I guess people call that the inner, the small knob, right click and hold, and left click, it'll make it active. So that's now my active frequency. I'll be keeping this page open, so that's now set to ILS 14 at Leeds Bradford. 110.9, that's right. And I'll get the identifier, Control 2, which is the identifiers here, NCL. NCL will come up later when we get nearer to that ILS frequency. It'll come up here, NCL. Only other thing I need to look at here, and you don't need to do this with this. Now, where's it gone? No, that's Newcastle. Why has it gone back down to Newcastle? So I'm wrong there. E, G, and M. Thank you. And that's the one I want. So the sorry, it's 110.9. That's right. The LBA would be the identifier. So correction there for Leeds Bradford. It's LBA. Probably some of you spotted that it changed back to Newcastle. I didn't, because I'm a dummy. So I've got the frequency. You'll see LBA come up here. What was I going to say? The course. This is automatic in the VisionJet, but I'm going to take a note of it anyway. It's 138. Sounds right for runway 14. So that's all fine. We've got all that set in. We've got all the information. I can put this screen back to map. And it'll give me the map view. I've got all that information set in now. I don't have to worry about that. Okay, so with that all done, we'll get up and flying. Okay, so we'll throttle up and release the parking brake and get up in the air. We'll wait. In the VisionJet, you want to get to around 100 knots for takeoff. What I am going to do, actually, I'm going to come down to my autopilot panels, and I'm going to put it in flight level change mode. It will, I believe, hold the best altitude for you. When you select autopilot, it will try and climb you at the best altitude. That's what I believe flight level change mode does in the VisionJet. Positive rate of climb, gear up. Just going to trim just so I'm not climbing too rapidly. That's fine. I'm going to click autopilot on. I can do it down here. And nav mode. Now, autopilot on. Thank you. Sometimes you have to click it a couple of times. It's in flight level change mode. You can see that up here. So it's going to climb us to our altitude. If that's not right, it's not climbing quick enough for me there. Well, I'm going to take my flaps up first. Raise your flaps. And you'll find that will climb better. That's better. So if it's not climbing, that's why you've got your flaps still in. Easy mistake to make. I've got gear up. I can tell inside the aircraft. But gear up, flaps up. I'm climbing. Let's just get back to my view there. It's coming towards our course and we'll stay on the course. If you need to zoom out here on the map, it's this little knob. Wherever you got map displayed here. Little knob. And mouse up. Down here, our first waypoint. 14 nautical miles to that. That's fine. We're climbing to 3,000 feet. So I'm going to bring the throttle back up because it will like to overspeed. I'm using manual throttle here, which I prefer to do for now. I've not cleared the clouds, have I? But never mind. I could go higher. In fact, I'm going to raise my altitude. Let's see. I'm going to go up to 4.5 and see how that works. I'll click on vertical speed in this case. And I'll mouse down on this wheel just to increase my vertical speed by 1,000 feet per minute. See if I can clear the clouds this way. Still got autopilot selected. Look at your top reading here, autopilot and FMS, which is nav mode in the Vision Jet, essentially. Bring that speed back again, because I want to keep it around 250 knots, and we're climbing, and we were going to go over 250 knots. That will do. Oh, you know, doesn't matter. Oh, we might just get above the clouds. If not, I'm not really fussed. It's ideal weather for doing autopilot stuff like this. We're just about clearing the bottom layer there. We'll see how we go. We're going to rely on our... We've not got to our altitude yet, so we might do. We're going to rely on our instruments here to see what's happening with the aircraft. I'm just maintaining, so I've looked at the screens, I've set our nav frequency, I've got this screen here set to our map, I've got this screen when I want to switch frequencies, mode later. I can do it via this screen. So it's just setting up the screens to your own liking, so you can control whatever. My goodness, what a day. If I still sound congested, guys, I've just got over COVID. I did a test today because I've got to do flow tests for our work before I can go back in. I'm pretty much clear now, pretty much clear. It's just the nose is a little bit congested still. My nose always gets it more than anything. And I don't want to keep using sprays because I don't like medication generally. If I can avoid it, I won't take medication. I'm not in any distress or pain. And it only lasted a few days. Second time I had COVID. But could have been worse. There we go. 4 nautical miles to this waypoint. I'll keep you with me because I want to show you this procedure. And it's going back from all our back to basic videos. So, you know, we're talking about aircraft familiarization, moving on to a more advanced aircraft. In this case, the G3000. I've not really shown you much about that, so but I've shown you other Garmin operations in other aircraft. So this is another Garmin system I'm showing you now. But it's just you know, a flight level change mode, taking off. Trimming out a little bit so I wasn't climbing too quickly, that type of thing. And then I'll show you the autopilot landing here, ILS landing for this one, and vertical navigation later. And if you can fly this, you can fly something like the 146 professional airliner. If you get the hang of this, you should be okay in airliners generally. There we go, we've cleared that point. EGNM, 53 nautical miles. You know what I'll do, people? I'll bring you back when we get a bit nearer. You know what? We're still over 30 nautical miles away, but I just love that atmosphere, really. Flying just above the clouds, near enough here. Look at that. That is wonderful. Wonderful when you capture this on live weather, isn't it? There you go, 35 nautical miles. We're going to get there in no time. In fact, what I want to do is keep an eye for the identifier. Is it LBA for Leeds Bradford? It will appear here. It means we could switch our source to nav1. That means the ILS is available for us to lock on. What I am going to do is move my heading bug to my general direction. Something I should have done before. Use this knob. It's going to be easier on my multi-panel. If you've got controls to do this, you can just do it a lot quicker using the controls. In my case, the multi-panel. I've done videos where I've shown you how to set that up in other controls. Isn't that wonderful? A little bit higher, 5,000 feet, which we'll be going to later on our next leg. We might have just been above them. Oh, we're going to fly through. That is beautiful, isn't it? The clouds have improved incredibly in Flight Sim over the years, hasn't it? In Microsoft Flight Sim, this Flight Simulator. I've really done a good number with those clouds. There we go, we've got to fly into them. There. Thick pea soup. Thick pea soup. Well, that will be. Ugh. There we go. We might pop our head over the clouds in a moment. We're going to get there in no time at all. Now under vertical nautical miles, so you can see how this aircraft, with just over 250 knots, we are zooming along. So this first procedure, I've shown this in others, it's just capturing the ILS and doing an ILS landing and changing our source, FMS source, basically to localizer 1 to get onto the ILS. As long as you got the, there you go, it's come up the identifier. As long as you got the right frequency dialed in your nav1. Is that right for Leeds Bradford? I think it's picking up on something else, isn't it? It might be picking up. It's worth checking. Control 2 should be on Leeds Bradford. It is. I want LBA. What forgot? It's saying. Yeah, it might be picking up. Gotta be careful because there might be sources around, ILS frequencies around with similar codes. So you don't want to lock on the wrong one. So I'm just going to leave it for a moment so we get a bit closer. Just make double sure on that I'm not making a mistake there. I don't think I am. 1110.9 for runway 14. That is the... Oh, sorry, I was making a mistake, that's right. Sorry, I misleaded you, chaps, if you picked up on that. That's just the abbreviation for, similar to the ICAO code. This is the correct ILS frequency identifier, and it's picking that up. Stupid, there you go. So just showing my mistakes, I'm going to change that back to map. Change the FMS source down here. So you want to be on your basic PFD, primary flight display, home button. Click on that to change the source. You can see we need to fly. I'm going to move it a little bit more to the right and put it into heading mode. Careful, when you click sources it will click off nav mode, but I've just put the autopilot into heading mode. I could have done it down here, I did it on my multi-panel. Going to encourage the course deviation line to move in, and then click on approach mode and it will take us down to the runway. Okay, I'm going to slow my speed as well. I'm going to bring my throttle back to about 45% on my physical throttle, and that will get us down to about 190, which if I showed you before, maybe I didn't, will be flaps 1. It tells you down here the speeds under your flaps, what speeds you should be at. 190 I believe it says there. Yeah, 190, 150 there for full flaps. So get myself down for 190 to 190 for flaps 1 speed. Our first stage of flaps, 50% flaps. Let's be correct here. So well done if you caught that. It's me being dummy if you were shouting at the screen. Saying, Huddison, what are you doing? I just had a brain fart. That's the ILS identifier. That's the airport code. The codes here, that's the identifier for the ILS. So if you're reading a chart, don't do what I did. Read the identifier here next to the nav1 frequency. Oh, but never mind, we got there. Mistake, but it wasn't costly. And like I showed you there, it's good to double check. See, even I make mistakes, so I'll keep that in. Ooh, very nice. Better stay inside the aircraft. I need to slow down to around maybe even 30% throttle. So 30% physical throttle to get it down below 190. Just so I'm ready for flaps and then landing gear, that type of thing. Keep it there, doesn't matter. I know we're heading towards the runway. Actually, I can put it back to map. So we're heading away from the nav line because I want to line up for runway 14, which will be around here. around there. So I can move my heading mode, because the ILS glide slope indicator is starting to move down. I could put it in approach mode, but I want to get the course deviation line in first. So try to encourage that in ASAP. I'm at 190 knots. I'm going to go to stage 1 flaps. I'll do it down here. If you weren't at the correct speed, it would flash at you saying you're not at the correct speed for stage 1 flaps. 50% flaps. Keep your throttle where it is. I'll slow down to maybe 130 knots here. Glide slope indicators moving down. Glide path indicators moving down. Glide slope indicator is moving down. I was correct the first time. I want the course deviation line to come in. I might just get this timed perfectly. I may not. If you feel that's moving down too quick, move your heading bug more to the right so you're heading away pretty much from the runway. It should be more in a westerly heading around there. So I'm just keeping the glide slope indicator from moving down any more till the course deviation line moves in. No, it's gone off. Just a second, let me just move my heading bug back round. Ah, joy, well the identifier's still there, we're still in nav 1. There it is, it's come back up again. Why did you go away? Never mind. That'll be fine, we should see this line move in anytime soon. It's just because we've got to come around here to get lined up with the runway. You want to cross the threshold of the runway for this course deviation line to start moving in. If you think about it that way, we're over here, the runway's here, so for us to be lined up for it, we've got to be, the aircraft's got to be around here, I reckon. Should be okay, people. Even if this goes below, it should catch up. I'm not too worried about this. Is it moving? What I can do anyway, because I don't want to miss this, is click on approach mode now. Click on approach mode. You'll see glide slope and localizer in white when it's locked on. So when we cross the threshold of the runway, it's locked onto our localizer. The localizer will go green. When the glide slope comes to the center, glide slope will go green. Ideally, you want to be locked onto your localizer before the glide slope indicator comes to the centre, which we might just make. It's exciting, isn't it? Let's just zoom in on that. Speed's fine. Want to be nice and slow now. In fact, I don't want to be much slower than that. I've not got my gear down yet, so I'll keep it just about there. There you go. Localizer's locked on. Glide slope indicator will start moving down to centre now because we're moving towards the runway. It worked out well, didn't it? So just keep that in mind. You want to cross, you want to get parallel, your aircraft parallel to the actual heading off the runway, which is around there. So it will lock on. Ideally before that glide slope indicator comes down to centre. Now it's down to centre, glide slope is blinking green. I can put my gear down, do it here. I can go to 100%, I won't go to 100% flaps, I'll just control my throttle a little bit so I don't speed up too much. I will go to 100% flaps, just because it'll slow the aircraft down a bit more. I want to keep it around, I'm going to say around 90 knots coming into land. So just keep an eye on your instruments here. Going back to previous lessons, localizers in green, glide slopes in green, glide slope indicators in the centre, which means it's locked on. You can see we're descending under autopilot control. We're just controlling the speed of the aircraft, which is going nicely down. Just keep an eye on your speed. If you've got it in manual throttle, and we'll do that for this lesson at least, just keep an eye on that speed. Because as it levels out the aircraft, you may go quicker As it descends, sorry, as it levels out you may go slower, as it descends you'll be going quicker. Speed's perfect, okay there, perfectly okay rather. Can't see a thing. Perfect weather for fully autopilot managed landing here. Until I get over the runway, that's when I'll take it off autopilot. That's all fine, we're going nicely. Just start to see land below us there. Land ahoy. Crossing below 3,000 feet. Can I click on this thing? I think I've tried that. It's like procedures or checklists. Can't click on that. There is a checklist list here in the Vision Jet as well somewhere on your screens. Yeah, it's not fully functional, that's the only issue. Like I said, there's a few things like circuit breakers and this stuff up here I can't seem to operate. Some like fire systems, so I'm not too worried about that. Yeah, various bits and pieces. Do those work towards the back? Don't think those controls work. TV works obviously fine, although I've not tried to watch it. I mean, it's not, but I would expect full functionality because we have paid for it, but you know, for what we get, it's not too bad. So there we go, 2,100 coming towards. None too bad. Nice rainbow there. It's more like a corona, isn't it? Very nice. And we should be able to spot, I reckon, the runway. Ideally, you want to spot the runway at your minimums. Let's call minimums 900 feet. What we can do while we're waiting for that, if you've got Navigraph, go to charts. And charts again, just to make sure it's on Leeds Bradford, go to info. And it should give you information about the airport. There you go, all different kinds of information. What am I looking for? The elevation is 681 feet above ground. So let's call minimums now. We're 1,300 feet. Yeah, I can see the runway ahead of me there, so no worries. Minimum's fine, we'll continue. Runway's ahead, it's in autopilot control still, localizer still green, glide slope still green. Just switch that back to go to home here and go to map there to switch it back to map view. It doesn't really matter, we're concentrating on the landing now. And I'm going to bring that throttle back now to about 25% because we're closing over that runway. Not all the way back because your aircraft will simply want to drop from the sky, almost. Take it off autopilot once we've cleared these lights. About there. I've done it on my multi-panel. Bring my throttle back to about 10%. I don't want to drop it all the way because I want to bring it down to the runway gently. Now I can take my throttle back all the way because I'm just over the runway. Try and do a nice gentle landing. It does like to thud down the Vision Jet, so you just got to watch that landing. Bring it off to the left here. Raise my flaps. I'm not going to taxi to a taxiway because we're going to take off again in a moment to head towards Manchester and do vertical navigation. So I'll bring you back in a moment. And we're back at Leeds Bradford Airport. This is actually the add-on. I'll link the video I did. It's a wonderful looking airport by Orbix, this one, or marketed by Orbix. Absolutely beautiful. One of my favourites to fly in and out of, and the markings on the runways and taxiways and goodness knows what. It's just an absolutely wonderful airport. Anyway, video's not about that. What I'm going to do here, you can see I'm still in localizer 1 mode. I want to fix that by going to this third screen where we have it. Nav source back to FMS. Change our autopilot altitude. It's almost there. I want to change it. Oh, let's go to control 3. It's going to be easier. To 5,000 feet using our autopilot select button here. 5,000 feet altitude when we take back off again. And we'll take off and we'll use vertical speed this time. I think it's best just to show you a different method. What we're going to do while we're down here, I'm going to click on our flight plan button. So I'm in the FMD mode here. MFD. I don't know why I transpose letters sometimes. It sometimes happens to me. MFD. Go to flight plan here. So click on flight plan. You want to click on your destination EGCC. That's what we set up on the world map. Click on that button where it's got destination. There's 2 EGCCs. There's one at the bottom here, but you want to click this one here. Left click. And select approach. Now you get to the, so let's go back. That might have been a bit too quick for some people. So from this page, home page on the MFD flight plan, this one, destination, where it says destination EGCC, click on that and click on select approach. You get to this screen. On this screen where it's got approach, we're going to change that. We're going to left click it. And you'll see, follow this tutorial for now. You can try it on other airports that have VNAV. You can see runway 23 left has a vertical navigation profile. Isn't that handy? The other runways don't, so we'll choose this one. And we can choose vectors for now. Don't worry about this, I'll change that later. So what this will do, you can see our world map's not updated. We can click on review or preview, click on show on map, and we can scroll out using this knob. It will show us that's where our aircraft, just a second, that's where our aircraft is at Leeds Bradford. That's the preview for those vectors transitions and our V navigation here that we've just set up. Vectors, I don't want that. You can click on each one, it will preview it on the map. Don't want that one. I'll have this one. This one's quite good. So what we'll have to do, so it's basically the third option, OSNAP. So we'll click on that. What it will do, oops, scroll back out. That's where our aircraft is. We'll have to fly down here. It'll take us on a course down to here, lock onto this, and then fly us along this vertical navigation profile. So we can load and activate that. The map will change back to its green colour. And what it will do, it will give us various altitude restrictions leading up to our final approach fix. As you can see, all these altitude restrictions are exactly the same, 3,500 feet. It's a bit boring, that, isn't it? So I'm going to change these. I'm going to change this, keep that one the same, OSNAP. I'm going to change the second one to 3,000. So what we do there, let's go back, just click on the 3,000 figure. So keeping the first one, our first fix, approach fix, that's our initial approach fix rather, 3,500 feet, keep it there. We'll change this second one to 3,000, click in the altitude box there. Then click in this altitude box and just type in 3,000. Click enter. And enter again. It's clicked in. You can see this is crossed out now, our final approach fix, because it's saying you can't go to 3,000 and come back up to 3,500. So we'll have to change this. We'll click on that. Click on the altitude box. Change it to 2,500 for our final approach fix. Click on enter. And enter again. And it's all set in. We can lose, because we're going to land at runway 23 left. We can get rid of this. Left click on it. Remove waypoint. We don't need that. We should be okay once we're down, hopefully, on runway 23 left. So there you go. We've actually changed, like I showed you in a previous lesson. We've changed our VNAV profile. We kept this one the same. We've changed that to 3,000, changed that to 2,500. If we go to the vertical navigation page, it will say VNAV is enabled. We're going to have to enable it physically as well later on. But don't worry about that. Cruise altitude 5,000 feet. That's what I've set. We'll put it back to where it was. It's on map page there. Well, we'll go back because I want to see the charts. It's one thing I need to set up for EGCC. You can see we're in Leeds Bradford at the moment. Click on that button again, like I showed you before. EGCC should come up Manchester. Click on enter. And we want approach for 23 left, which is there. The only reason I'm clicking there, because I'll go to this page now. So there you go. That's runway 23 left. I want the ILS frequency, which is 113.55. 113.55. So I can change that. I'm in nav 1 standby, 113.55. So using that smaller knob to change the numbers after the decimal. 113.55. I didn't show you before, but the course did set correctly. It's 231 for this, but you don't need to worry about the course in the VisionJet. 113.55. 113.55. Right click and hold. Left click and active. When we get closer, that will show us the aircraft. Sorry, that will show us the identifier, which it's now clicked out of. The identifier should be, remember this time, Huddison. Just a second, people. 23 left, thank you. I selected the wrong one. Identifier is MCT. Remember, next to the navigation 1 frequency, that's your identifier, MCT. That will show up there later. Let's stop moving us around. I'll get this back to the map for the moment. And then I can get that back to our flight plan, because I'll change to VNAV later. I'll show you that once we're up in the air. So I'm going to throttle up. No more dilly-dallying. Throttle up. Release the parking brake. Oops, I've just set the parking brake again. Put it down to flaps 1. I don't believe I've got any flaps in. I want takeoff flaps. There we go. Get on the runway. Takeoff thrust should come up here because I've got it full throttle. And we'll be fine about 18, 19 knots would take us up in the air, and 100 knots. Well, yeah, it's 100 knots, that's fine. Gearsy up, I can do it from here. I'm going to bring the flaps up just using my multi-panel there. The nose of the aircraft will want to pitch down, so I'm using trim to trim us. Bring the throttle back to about 90% now, because I don't want to over stress the engine. Just trim out so I'm not climbing too quickly. And autopilot on. Nav mode on. Vertical navigation in this case. And I'm going to mouse down to make it climb to about 1,000 feet, which is this number, per minute, which is there. Bring that throttle down again. I don't want it to go too quick. You can see we're a bit away from the course here. I'm going to switch it into heading mode instead, because my heading bug's all the way down here. FMS will stay in white until it gets closer to the magenta line. It's difficult to tell there on the map, but we're a bit away from it. Yeah, there you can see. So we're going to have to turn to our right, which we are doing. And FMS will go green once it's locked on. We've not got far to Manchester here, so I'm going to keep you here. I'm going to bring my throttle back to 60%. I don't want to get past this speed much. Maybe even 50%. We've got people flying around us, which is nice. If we come down to control on 1, you can see we're only 25 nautical miles, and we've got the identifier for Manchester. I'm not going to switch it this time. I'm going to keep it in FMS mode. You'll see why later. I'm going to go do this slowly. I'll pause if I need to. In this screen, so I'm on flight plan from the main screen here. Flight plan. I'm going to switch it to VNAV. Select this button, VNAV. It will tell us the... Oh, no, what we're going to have to do is climb up to 5,000 feet. Never mind, people. Never mind. We're first going to have to climb, so I'm going to climb quicker. 1,500 feet per minute, and just increase my throttle so I don't slow down too much. Just want to get to our initial cruise altitude before vertical navigation kicks in. Once we get to 5,000 feet, we're going to have to bring this down, the altitude autopilot select, to our 2,500 feet approach fix. That's our final altitude. FAF, final approach fix. I want to bring that altitude down to 2,500, the autopilot assigned altitude. It's going to be cut close, this, because we're not far from Manchester, but we should be far enough where this will be okay, because I'm not going very quick. I'll keep my speed low, in fact, just so we don't get too quickly towards Manchester. Remember, vertical navigation, you have to bring your autopilot assigned altitude down. Don't do it yet, we're still climbing. Just checking outside quickly. Autopilot altitude select mode is flashing green. It will go solid green. Wait till it goes solid green. There it has now. Now we can change this autopilot selected altitude. It won't start descending until you tell it to 2,500 feet. That's our final approach fix. As you can see there, you have to click on the VNAV button. So that's now lit. And you should get the path here. It's basically a vertical navigation path in white until it locks on. Click on the VNAV button. There we go. Now you can see it's got top of descent. We got 4 minutes, so we timed that well. 4 minutes to our top of descent. If I zoom out on this map, mouse up to zoom out, you can see our top of descent's there to get down eventually to our 2,500 feet. I'll keep it in this mode here, and you'll get autopilot projected altitudes come up here. We're at 5,000 feet at the moment. It's in VNAV mode. When it reaches top of descent, it will take over and even bring us towards the runway. You just need to watch your speed, and I need to watch my speed. Wow. There you go, I brought my throttle back to about 45%. Oh. You never quite know what views you're going to get outside your aircraft, do you? That's beautiful. That's screenshot time. There you go, just took a quick screenshot. So I'll keep you here, people. This really is quite advanced autopilot procedures here now. I've shown you VNAV before. I tried to go slowly there. I'll go over it again while we're reaching. From your main MFD page, go to your flight plan. If you've altered these altitudes like I've shown you, that's fine. Once you've reached your cruising altitude, once it's all flashing and locked onto your cruise altitude, change this down to your lowest altitude. The only one lower is actually on the runway, and that doesn't have an altitude. So your lowest altitude, which is 2,500 feet, which I've done there, for our final approach fix, or wherever your final approach fix is. It will say it always in a vertical navigation profile, or it should do. Put your altitude down to that. Then click on the VNAV button down here, and it should, if you click on VNAV here as well, it will tell you when your top of descent is, and it will bring us down. It's not difficult, really, once you get the hang of it. Navigraph, while I'm here, I can come back there later, so you can change screens here. I just want to get airport information. Information about the airport, thank you. Control and 2. They're always slightly different. Elevation is 2,557 feet. It's very handy Navigraph. If I land here, I need to taxi to the right, the cross runway 23 right. Ah, wonderful. I do urge you to get Navigraph if you've got the VisionJet on Xbox and PC. If you're on Xbox, this should work like I'm showing you here. Flight plan, vertical navigation, top of descent, 1 minute out. Actually go back into map, flight plan, vertical navigation. So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm switching and changing between screens with no problem. I'll bring that throttle down again. I don't want to be over speeding here. I want to be below 190 for stage 1 flaps. Check on my flaps, they're up. Landing gears up. Vertical navigation profile, once that triangle comes to the centre, it will start descending in 41 seconds. So it's all matching up. It will give us our vertical speed required at our current speed. Keep that in mind. I'm going to go to flaps 1 before we start descending. Anytime soon, flaps 1 will do. Thank you very much. I'll do it here. Like to do it with the actual instruments in the aircraft, just in case I need to ever do that. My multi-panel fails or my controls fail. I know where the controls are. We're slowing down here, don't worry, it will start descending in 12 seconds. And I might need to pull my throttle back again. Even though I'm in flaps 1. 50% flaps. There you go, it's descending. Vertical speed required. And this will keep changing, it will match up perfectly for us, don't worry. We've got Manchester showing here, so we're on the right ILS frequency. We'll get the glide slope indicator showing later. Speed is okay. Projected altitude, that's what I showed you before. So it's going to go down to 3,000 feet now, because we're passing through our initial approach fix. So our next approach fix will be, sorry, 3,500 to our initial approach fix. Then down to 3,000, then down to 2,500. You'll see that number change as we go along. So if it gets to 3,500, if we get to the point before we, there you go, no, we haven't, we've passed through our initial approach fix. If we get to this point, when we reach 3,000 feet before we get to the point, which is the altitude restrictions here is 3,000 feet. As you can see, it's highlighted there. If we get there before, sorry, if our altitude comes down to 3,000 feet, it will stay there and then change to 2,500 for our final approach fix. Hope I've not just confused you there, but if you think about it logically, it's going along each point and will stay at that altitude until you pass through it. And then your projected altitude will change and your VNAV will kick in again, and you'll continue down. It's all very straightforward, chaps. And it's a fun aircraft to do it in, because it's a rocket pocket, this aircraft. It will get you across the ocean in no time. It's a mini airliner, essentially, the Vision Jet. Like the high-end executive jet, isn't it? There you go. Just going to cross through this point. This will change to 2,500. And it has now. So it'll take us down to 2,500 feet. And we'll be lined up for runway 23. Can we see it? Well, Manchester's got better weather than we have here. That's ironic. Oh well. Just going to slow the altitude down. I want to get to around 90 knots coming into land. In fact, any second, when we get a bit closer, let's just see how far we are out. So this is from our final approach fix here. Once we cross that, it will tell us how far we've got to the runway. Once we cross this, I'm going to go gear down and full flaps, because we'll be on our final approach fix. And you'll see the glide slope indicator. This diamond will turn green later. Right, okay, once we get past this little bit here, just the intersection. There you go, 10 nautical miles to go to the runway. But I'm going to go gear down. Don't get confused, there's 2 runways. That's 23 right, 23 left here, I believe. Do I have that right? No, I'm looking at the wrong thing. You can see both runways. 23 right, 23 left here. So you can just about see them, and that's Manchester Airport there. So looking good. What's our speed doing? I'm just going to keep an eye on the instruments now. Glide slope there. Sorry, it'll turn purple magenta first, and when it comes down to centre, we can press the. When it starts to come down to centre, we can press the approach button. Can this give us the perfect line? Vertical navigation. We're on this leg now. It's given us the perfect line towards 23 left, which is yonder. This one here, I think. Glide slope indicators moving down. I can go into approach mode now. GS, oh, it's glide path. Okay, so the glide path indicator moving down. So, of course, vertical navigation, glide path, not glide slope. Once it comes down to centre, it will lock on for us and go green. Or it should do. Well, at least this will go green. Gonna go to full flaps. 100% flaps. Should get us down to, I want to get to around 90 knots, don't forget. Which is getting there nicely. Let's just see what happens. Glide path's gone green, it's going to lock on and keep us there. And yeah, it's descending. Basically. So it's under autopilot control. Don't forget, if you set up a vertical navigation, it's giving you the profile directly towards that runway. So you don't need to switch your FMS, your source here. You just need the right frequency dialed in here, which we have. There's 23 left ahead there. Beware Manchester, the runways are next to each other like this. 23 right, 23 left. Just speed up a wee bit there. So that's it in a nutshell. That's vertical navigation in the Vision Jet. Once you've mastered that, once you've mastered the autopilot, the different screens here and autopilot functions, you might as well go to an airliner, to be honest. Once you've mastered this, you can definitely fly an airliner. You know, controls are in a different place. You usually have this sort of MCP panel in the centre for the airliners. So you control and autopilot, altitude, knobs and things are in different places, but it's pretty much the same principles. I know Rossen, our dear friend Rossen, he used to fly airliners as well. He loved the Vision Jet, I can see why. I'm enjoying it. It's definitely... I've got to do my top aircraft list, haven't I? I'll say it'll be in my top 10 aircraft. A couple of aircraft I would rate above it simply because of the functionality and the way it feels, you know. I do prefer... Anyway, it's a good aircraft. And yeah, I believe it was Rossen's favourite, so there you go. In fact, I wouldn't have bought it if it wasn't through the live stream we did with Rossen. I'll link that in the description as well. We did a live stream for our dear friend who passed away suddenly last year. And yeah, a lot of us bought airliners, the Vision Jet, for that live stream. So thanks, Rossen, again. It's a great aircraft. I am enjoying it. It's great to get to know it. Okay, we've got a couple of people on the... Looks like they're taxiing there. They're actually on the stands at the airport, by the looks of things. It's always interesting, isn't it? That's why I like live service. Take a look at what people are doing. He's logged off, possibly. We're coming towards this runway, so we'll keep an eye on our speed. Huddison. Still don't have an add-on for Manchester Airport. I don't know if it was part of the Orbix North or Central, whichever it was. My voice is fading, so bear with me, people. Like I said, just getting over COVID, so it's taking its strain on me a little bit. But I'm a lot better now. But the surrounding area, all these things you're seeing, is pretty much due to the Orbix Great Britain packages I've got installed. Does look good, Manchester now. But I don't believe the airport was included in that package, but I could be wrong. I think it looks like a default airport. Ah. Thank you, autopilot. It's taking us right onto that runway, isn't it? So we see what happens if we let the autopilot land us. For science, people, if I crash, then... well, you know, it's for science. I don't like autopilot landings. But I shall do it in this video, so I'm just going to watch my speed. Going to watch the position of the glide path indicator. If it's above us like that, it's saying you actually need to speed up. If it's below the line, you need to slow down. It's a good rule of thumb. So I've just sped up a wee bit just to keep it... See, we're low on the pappy lights. I don't want to go too quick, because we're right over the runway. Once we get over the runway, I'm going to start reducing throttle and goodness knows what anyway. Yeah, we're about right. We're fine there. Surprisingly, that's quite fast for me. So I'm going to bring that down. Down a bit more, we're getting over the lights of the runway there. So autopilot landing here, will it flare? Don't null your throttle here, for goodness sake, in the Vision Jet. It will just clunk down on the runway. Wait till you're just a few feet above the runway. Okay, I'm going to start nulling my throttle now. Let's see what it does. Oh, this doesn't look great. Yeah, the aircraft's screaming at me there. So that was an autopilot landing, people. Wouldn't recommend it in the Vision Jet, but I did it for science. And it got us down, as you can see, VNAV, fully autopilot controlled right down to the bloody runway. Right, flaps up, brake there, it brakes very quickly, the Vision Jet. I'm going to have to go and repair it now. So there you go, that's bringing everything we know from previous lessons into a more advanced aircraft like the Vision Jet, showing you all different kinds of autopilot procedures there, and even vertical navigation. Let me know your thoughts on the video. Practice this, practice the course I just showed you first, and then move on to something else later. Give the video a like if you've enjoyed it, subscribe for more, and I'll see you soon.